I'm going to tell you what's in your box for wild box number 30. So we have a repeat of a couple of ingredients from last week. The yarrow flowers are here again. Again, it's absolutely crazy that these are out at this time of year. We're glad to have them, but also a bit disconcerted by how the seasons are messed up at the moment, that this is flowering again in November. Wild celery again. So I've said several times probably this is absolutely my favourite. I love this plant, and you're just going to have it in a very simple, fresh winter salad this week. Brand new bitter cress. We've had 8 other mustardy plants so far. This is number 9 for wild mustards in the wild box. I know that because I've been doing some stats this week. I'll say a bit more about that in a minute. But bitter cress is just so simple. You can use it like watercress. It's not quite so spicy, like cress. So you could certainly do an egg and cress sandwich with that. It's a prolific garden weed. If you've got that in your garden, this may be a discovery for you that what you thought was a curse is actually a blessing. It is amazing. Like if you see this go to seed and then you just brush up against it, it explodes seeds in all directions, which is annoying if you want to get rid of it, but an absolute gift if you realize that it's an absolute gift. Moving on to this one, the 3-corner garlic. It's going to be occurring in the wild box many times before the spring, because it just goes right through the winter, and there will probably come a time in February when there's not that many fresh leaves, and we'll be sending out a lot more of the dry goods. So this will be one of the few that sort of hangs on till February. Sow thistle. I mean, it goes without saying, kind of, that all of these are winter things. Obviously, you might doubt that, given that yarrow is coming out, but these are really typical winter salads, these two. And you'll see that salads keep recurring in the wild box through the winter, and you might say, oh, you know, thought salads were a summery thing. Well, actually, they're not. And I'll tell you why. Because most of our best salad plants grow in the winter, much more than in the summer. And if you can adapt to the idea of eating a lot of salad in the winter, there's a really good reason to do that, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the powerful chemistry and the bioactive compounds in these plants. Last winter, because I really upped my intake of salads, I got so into this as a genre of preparation of wild plants, to just chop up a load of things and you know, it's very similar to the things that are ending up in the wild box. I went right through the winter with no coughs, colds, flus, nothing, and everybody else that I knew was dropping like flies. I managed to not catch any of those things. So I would recommend it, and obviously it's a thing. If you think of food reflecting land and season, it's an obvious thing to do when these plants are available. So again, we have Alexander's and hogweed. I'm really excited about this week's recipe that includes those two. It's a wild veg carbonara recipe, and it's unashamedly a twist on a recipe from an old River Cafe book, which is asparagus carbonara. And from that, I assume, though I'm not an expert on Italian food, that the point about carbonara is the eggs, because I always thought carbonara was this thing with bacon, but they called that carbonara, and it has several egg yolks in that give a sort of sauce right at the end with a bit of parmesan. But I really love the effect of the crunchy stalks, and then cooking the leaves separately, the crunchy leaves that just go on right at the end so they don't get soggy. I hope you enjoy that one, and it's for me leaning a bit more heavily on the wild plant element than some of the cooked recipes that I've done. And there's a reason for that. Generally, I'm trying to show you that you can put just a small amount in. You know, you don't have to suddenly adjust to being able to eat a whole plate full of wild foods. That you can just use them in a small way and break yourself in gently. And as you kind of graduate in this great wild food school or university, which is in effect what you're doing by going through these boxes every week, is your kind of, it's an education, that you'll reach these junctures where you know a certain amount of plants that you can forage for yourselves, and obviously at that point you can bulk everything out and just have a feast that's 100% wild. But for now, it's breaking you in gently. But this is kind of a bit of a milestone in terms of a pasta dish, which is pretty much, you know, it's just the pasta and the wild plants there, with very little else apart from a bit of onion in terms of cultivated vegetables. And coming back to the salad, well, you know, we've got a salad with 3-corner garlic, bitter cress, wild celery, and the sow thistle, and it's a lovely fresh winter salad, which I think you'll feel better for eating it. And that's got a vinaigrette with the vinegar we've made from this. Now, just a little afterthought. You may find that you want a stronger flavour in your vinegar. It's a nice subtle lot of the aroma and flavour of the yarrow with the 200 mils of vinegar as per the recipe. But if you want to cut that in half and have a stronger one, that's an option. I just thought I'd mention that. It was too late by the time we'd printed the Wild Box navigation notes to say that. But just going back to what I alluded to earlier, I just want to say it as well as having written it. We were so pleased to have. I just did a bit of work going through all of the plants that we've included in the box, and according to my calculations, we've covered 76 plants now and 94 ingredients over 30 weeks, which is really exciting. And with that, there was 10 wild fruits, 9 coastal vegetables. I feel like I'm going to burst into a partridge in a pear tree in a minute. 9 coastal vegetables, 9 mustards. Funny how these 9s, 9 coastal vegetables, 9 wild mustards, 9 herbs, and then 14 wild salads and 14 kinds of flowers. How does that happen? There it is, 4 species of seaweed and 3 species of alliums, and there was other bits as well, but I didn't want to just try and cover everything. So it's just, you are being immersed in a kind of dietary diversity that you can only imagine doing any other way. There's so many things to be discovered. I'm really thrilled to look forward to, you know, when we get to the end of a year, how many have we covered in a year? So I'm glad you're with us on the Wild Box journey. There's a few that have been with us right from box 1, and they'll have had a special gift this week. I hope you enjoy that. But just glad to have you with us, and that's it for this week's What's in Your Box.